So hello, it's Home Rusty and Funding. I'm really excited today to talk to one of our Academy members, Gabrielle Perry. She's going to be talking about all the things that she's done inside the Academy since joining. And literally, let's talk numbers real quick. I always like throw the numbers at the top of the podcast because they're so fun. But in just a few months, $232,784 in grants secured this year in 2025. And $120,000 in contracts already signed in just the last, actually, like couple months, right? So, like, you're just rolling, like, amazing, amazing. Love this so much. So, welcome.
You. I'm so lucky and glad to be here.
Yeah, so happy to have you here today. So, yeah, I just like let's get into it right away because I know you had some of your first, I think, in the Academy. So let's kind of talk about like why you joined the Academy, why you became a grant writer, like all of the things, your origin story. It's like when I like,
Oh my gosh. So, whenever I started out in grant writing, I was doing this under additional duties from my 9 to 5 job. And I felt like I was being ignored in a way. I had a lot of great skills and I wasn't getting compensated for those. Um, so I felt like, it was time to kind of do this on my own. I had a knack for it and I thought I was going to throw up whenever I turned in my 2 weeks notice to my boss. I was sitting in her office and I said, here's the deal. I'm working with a couple of nonprofits, and I think I can do this on my own. Here's my 2 weeks notice. After being, I came from the nonprofit sector. I worked at a Chamber of Commerce for almost 5 years. And then after that, I had then decided to go into county government. And that's kind of where I had gotten my footing. So that's where I started.
amazing. I love that so much. And yeah, and when was this? When did you quit your job?
I quit my job in July of 2024. I was getting ready to have my third baby, and I felt like I was tired of missing all these milestones. I felt like I was at a point where I was done trying to survive. I wanted to survive in my business. So I decided to make that seat and just before I step.
I love that so much. And yeah, and even like with 3 kids, like amazing. Like having you have a young one then. Like, yeah, like, like that's a lot. And I just want to think about that for a minute because like at a time, that's when a lot of people may be like, oh, I can't leave my job because I'm having this huge life change. You know what I mean? Like, how was that? It actually like, it sounds like it actually helped you and promoted you to have that change as well. Like have more.
Yeah, it really did. So honestly, it did kind of let me do some self-promoting. The way I did a lot of my work, I just did cold. There was just, some, I felt like in my area, I felt like I was competing a lot. We have a really small community. I felt like no one was really open to sharing the tricks of the trade. So it was hard to find a board. And that was kind of where I was at. I felt like I had hit a ceiling. And I felt like I clicked to anywhere else than where I was currently at. So I decided I wanted to join the Academy. And I've been following your network for quite some time before I finally officially decided to reach out and say, hey, this is my situation. Can you please send the help? Send out.
Yeah, I love that. Like, a lot of hearing your kids in the background right now, like, because I'm always like, bring your kids, bring your pets, like, all the things. And then it's like, I love that. But yeah, and having that point, as you mentioned, like, a lot of people don't want to share, right? They're kind of like thinking it's more competition in certain areas. And we're all about like sharing, you know what I mean? Like, what we have, because we're like, there's not enough freelance grant writers out there helping, and we want to put them.
Yeah. And I can understand because I feel like in this community with, the economic development growth that we have, I can understand not wanting to share because they want to be that go-to person. I know what that feels like. And so I understood, but it sucks because I was emerging. I wanted to learn. I like to consider myself a sponge. I like to absorb as much knowledge and information as I can. And so I was a little disheartened and just not feeling like I had a community. And, that's what I was really seeking whenever I was joining the academies. I wanted a community. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to grow and shift from that just I'm a freelancer to I'm the owner of a company, you know?
Yes. Yes. And you're the owner of Grants by Gabrielle. For those people looking. And yeah, and you're based in Oklahoma too, right? So like let's give some like this is where she at. You guys looking for a grant writer in Oklahoma. And what cause areas do you kind of focus on? Let's kind of talk about that. Are you generalist? Are you specialist? Like what?
So I truly feel like my niche in grant writing is law enforcement and local government grants. That is really where I got my real footing in the grant world. I had done 4 or 5 micro grants working for the Chamber of Commerce. And whenever I shifted to working for county government, I just dove headfirst. My first official grant was the opioid abatement grant for the state of Oklahoma. And, it's coming up again. So I'm excited to be a part of that. And then after that, it was a Department of Transportation grant, helping with our planning and zoning department. And, I had done an energy efficiency and community development block grant. After that, I had worked with our sheriff's office, got their state appropriated funding, worked on a domestic violence grant. That is a grant that is still ongoing. And we were actually the only law enforcement in the entire USA to get that grant used.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, I felt like that was a really big win for us. And, we actually just had a site visit from the Department of Justice. So that went very well. So I'm excited to see how that program grows over the next few years that we still have that grant.
Oh, I love that. Hey, and, I love leaning into county grants and state grants and working with government departments. And when you write those types of grants, it's really interesting too, because yes, and with nonprofits, you can definitely see your work too. But there's kind of a different impact when you're working like on state grants or county grants or city grants, because you might see because of the partnerships involved in some of the grants. So you see their out on a different scale, right?
So glad you brought that up, because we work with a lot of MOU partners in the community and outside of it. And we try to incorporate them into our grants as much as possible. So that way they also receive money. They are the core of our mission and why we do what we do. We are a public servant. And I know whenever people think government, they think lack of transparency. People are afraid of the government. And so we're trying to shift that narrative to be more transparent. I feel like that adds an additional layer, and it leaves a lot of room for great collaboration.
Yeah, I love that so much. And that's just it's so cool. So that you quit your job because you're like, okay, I'm working too many hours. I'm going to have a baby soon. I need to look at this and have maybe better balance or whatnot. And what was some of the outcomes of that when you first started? You said it was a little competitive. You were trying to find what were your kind of your struggles in the first 6 months or so before you found the academy?
So in my first 6 months being independent, I learned a lot. I learned that I needed to have more streamlined processes, and I needed to be more present. I felt like I was just becoming a little person. I was just working with my weak client, and I wasn't really putting myself out there. And I feel like I have all this really experience, and I feel like I get the imposter syndrome a lot. And so I feel like that's just overcoming that first hurdle. And I think I'm shifting myself from being, feel like people who need grants are, people out in the ocean. I am the grant writer and have a life jacket, but I feel like they don't need it or they don't want it. So I'm not giving it to them, doing it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a really good asset. And, I feel like I could be giving it to my community, but I'm just not, because I'm so afraid that they don't want it. They don't need the service. And I feel like that was my biggest challenge, was overcoming that mindset. And then as soon as I started making more public appearances, attending networking events, attending workshops with just like-minded entrepreneurs, it wasn't so heavy on grant writing. And by doing those things, I slowly started to build a trusting tribe within the Oklahoma grant community with state and federal grant agencies, and that is a currency of its own.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I love that you said that, because a lot of times people think, oh, it's going to be so hard to market. It's going to be so uncomfortable. Like, I don't really know how to do it. And I'm like, you just literally need to be in your community.
you just have to do it. You just have to do it. You have to make that jump and just do it.
Just do it. And like, and it doesn't all have to be just for nonprofits or grant writing or any of that. It's like anything associated, somebody somewhere knows somebody that needs a grant, right?
Yeah.
So like you said,
I feel like, because my grandma was a businesswoman and she owned business and operated it for almost 30 years. And I feel like one of the biggest lessons that I learned from her is creative thinking. She was very tactful with how she marketed her business. So I kind of got creative and I thought, what is the main requirement of getting a grant? You're going to need an audit if it's large enough. You're going to have all these paperwork. So I went to all of our local CPA offices and I gave them my information for all of their clients. So I was like, hey, I can help. and like that's out of saying, I feel like I went from having one client to like a $4,000 a month contract to now making almost $12,000 a month between my two clients. That's like full-time workload for me. And then I have like the little smaller things from those opportunities that I have made, going to the CPA office, meeting people in public and all these different things. And I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel like I went from almost nothing to a really successful, thriving business, just especially within the short amount of time that I've been in the academy. I've learned so much about the ins and outs of grant writing. And I think one of the best benefits, if I haven't used it yet, because a lot of my grants started answering this. But I think one of the greatest benefits that I will be utilizing in the future is the reviews. I think that that'll be super great to hear from other people in the grant community. Just my local community kind of like closed off. So,
right. I love that. Yeah. So we have the unlimited grant reviews in there. So I love that. And then what are some of the things, like you came in, did you have a client yet? You had the one client when you came in, yeah?
Yes, I just had one.
I had the one client.
Yeah, it was one client and was at $2,700 a month. And they wanted to take on a little bit more work. So we kind of negotiated. And that was about 4 months into me leaving my job. So this was about August, September. And I had finally saved enough to take my first vacation. And it's having this beautiful mansion at the end of the road and all of this self-doubt and all of my problem is just trash in the road. And I need to just figure out how to move it out of the way so I can walk to my mansion. And I realized in September, no one's going to move that for me. And so I had to in the work. And then that is how I found your academy. And then a few months later, I was like, I'm going to make the commitment. It's going to be worth the purchase. I already know. And then here we are. Like 3, maybe 4 months after February, April, May, almost 5 months. And I'm even better than I was when I started.
Yeah. So you went from like $2,700 a month to now you said $12,000 a month. Yeah. So you got not over the 120 for the year. That was amazing. Like that's crazy. And what has helped you specifically in the academy? Can you point out a few things that have helped you got from that?
So I think it was learning the strategy of value-based price. I feel like I was starting out, I had no idea how to price my services. I felt like no matter how I chopped the block, everyone was going to be like, it's too expensive. And learning for what it means to be a value-based price business, it has launched my business further than I ever thought could possibly be. And I'm going to continue that in the future and stay like this.
Yes, I love that so much. And that's one of my favorite parts of the academy too. A lot of people are like, oh, what really helped was like, getting the nonprofit ethical sales system, which is amazing too. I love it. But they're like, the value-based pricing is so big because it actually addresses, it's a strategy, right? To really understand pricing your services, because how many people really know how to price services? It's super ambiguous. And then the other part is it has the mindset part into it too.
Yes. And again, I think competitive edge, it really did. Like going into clients, they were like, this feels so much more like clear cut than in any other agency that I've applied to work with or other emerging grant writers. It comes across a lot cleaner, a lot more cohesive. And I feel like it makes my brand a little bit more reputable and trustworthy. So,
That's yeah. Oh, that's so good. It's so good that that you're leaning into that and then able to get all of these clients. Um, and is there anything else that has really helped you think really make this jump?
um, I truthfully feel like I have gained so much confidence. And I've attended a lot of the coaching calls. I feel like I have gained a lot of really great connection. We've all kind of added each other on LinkedIn and they're like, hey, you know about this opportunity. It's just that sense of community. I have not gotten it anywhere else. I would just pay the guy to just stay in the academy just to have that. You know what I mean? But, you having that access to all of those great tools and resources while you're going through it. I get people ask me that want to start consulting, like, who did you learn from? And I'm like, oh my God, Holly Restick, you should check State out. And, now that being an affiliate, I'll get it. So that's it. I just feel like, but I feel like one of the greatest additions on top of having a value-based pricing system is the confidence that I have gained going through this program. I just can't explain else.
I love that. And I love it. Yeah, the community, the confidence. And I feel like that just like builds each other. The more you have that community, the more your confidence grows. And then the more your confidence grows, the more the community like cheers you on. So it's like so cohesive. Yeah. I love that. So let's talk about life. Okay, you're a mom, you got kids, and all of that. It's not even been a year, like almost a year. As we're recording this beginning next year, it's 2025. So almost a year celebration on quitting the job and going full time in your business. So congratulations. But how would it change your personal life?
Oh my gosh. I have so much more freedom. I do not feel, I would never go back to working at a job ever in my life because I have learned how toxic the environments are. Like I had said before, I felt like I was being overworked and very much underpaid. And because it's easy for people to just lump it under additional duties as assigned by boss, whatever. But I feel like the freedom that I have gained has been significant. I have more time with my kids. I have more financial freedom. We're getting ready to buy a house. And I never thought that was ever going to be an achievable goal until like I was 30. But it's happening right now. And that would be possible without going through the trainings that I've gone through and learning and having this community. Like I give it all to this community of 3-year academy because I would not be where I would be where I just.
Amazing. I love that. I love that so much. And congratulations on your upcoming house. Like so good. So good. I know when I bought my condo, it was like, oh, it's such a life change. Such a life change.
And I feel so shell-shocked every time I get a paycheck. Is this really not that's like that? Or like, but also like my personal life, I feel like I'm making it work better for me. I don't have as mental workload as I used to. I'm not as bogged down. I love what I do and I'm passionate about the people that I'm serving. And, now that I have a community and, having that value-based pricing, I feel like I can go anywhere. And knowing that I could travel and do this, it's so freeing because I could do like the world is mine. It feels like now, and I'm the only thing that's holding back.
And too, a lot of people would be afraid because they'll say, once I start a business, that's going to be so much work. I'm going to be working more than in my full-time job. But you've kind of showed that, not really. Like, yeah, you might go out to more events and stuff like networking, but like if you're doing all those additional duties as necessary, usually, especially if those people working in government or nonprofits, you're working on right size, right? And having those streamlined processes. Like I recently learned about Calendly and I've already been using it for 2 weeks. And I'm like, why haven't I been using this? Like, this is amazing. It's just finding those little things that help you, I just recently took a Canvas class and I learned so much about that and their automated stuff. I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm sure there will be more things that will come out as, technology and other things progress. But, I feel like just having those SOPs and more streamlined processes has definitely helped. And those are some of the things that
kind of gone over in the academy. I'm still kind of in the thick of some of the stuff on there. So there's just so much to, but I know I'll get there.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, you made over $120,000 and you haven't even gotten through all the things. You saw all the benefits. Like, amazing. Yeah. It's just usually it's the simple core things that work, right? The value-based pricing, the sales system, right? Like the confident and becoming a better grant writer with our grant reviews and our grant program writing.
And for the longest time, I felt like, and one of your emails you sent, it was talking about how you need to find the right types of education. There's lots of really great free courses out there. But if you don't have those structured, grant trainings, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a concrete wall. It's not fixing, the core of what your issues are. So I feel like learning those things we've had has also been very influential of how what my business has become.
Oh, I love it so much. And I'm just so proud of you. Like, you're making more money. You're more financially secure now. You have more time and flexibility. You're buying a house. Like, you have time with your kids. Like, I'm so happy for you. This is why I created the academy, is to create independence, right? Especially for women. Yeah. Again, I love that.
Yes. What's crazy is that you say that, I met with a gentleman who works with our Oklahoma attorney, district attorney's council. I had just met him just last month at a sheriff's association. And he's a really nice guy. He said that he's so glad that there's more women in the workforce than in this industry. He said they're just so intuitive and they have a lot of insight and they can see things long term. And he's like, I know as a man, I'm very short sighted. And so, we're actually hopefully going to collaborate on a few projects in the future. And so I'm really excited about this.
I love that. I love that he's like, looking at it through that lens, right? Too. So and to work together then, right? And it's so much fun then to be able to have that confidence and to see those things, especially as a woman, and to be able to have more financial success that a lot of times we don't have in the nonprofit industry because there are pay disparities still. But as I like, this is the solution. Yeah. Like, when you have your own place, you can charge what you can charge. And the only thing usually holding you back, as you mentioned before, is yourself, right? And it's all of just the thoughts, the feelings, all of the things. And once we go through, like, okay, now you really are worth things, like you have worth a lot of value. The grant writing is worth a lot. Really believe that and embrace it. Then pricing is like, hey, that it still surprises us sometimes. Like, oh my gosh, I'm getting paid this much. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, and it's worth it. One factor is like, oh my gosh. And, a lot of people that I have spoken with, they're like, that industry is just so saturated with people that don't really know what they're doing. And I'm like, where did you get that from? Like, down. And I've learned through this process that there are a lot of people that don't know things about grant writing. And so, people, they're always asking me, can you get paid off of a percentage or like a contingency? And I'm like, no. And, that's what they want to find this magical unicorn that will do it. And it's just making them realize if you're going to pay for those kind of business practices, you will pay for the consequences. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I love it. So congratulations once again, almost $250,000 in grant funding that you've been able to secure. So good. And over $120,000, actually more than that, right, in your business since joining the academy that you secured in contracts. So I'm so happy for you. And I love everything that you're doing for your community, like amazing. And for your children, like showing them like, yes, mom can work and I can still be with you and have time with you. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Like, changing the narrative on that is so important.
Thank you. And that's a part of my heritage too. Like, I'm a tribal Cherokee Nation citizen. And one of the biggest lessons that I have learned is bring the little ones with you, because it teaches them how to persevere. It teaches them those life skills that they don't get in a classroom. And so I'm a really big advocate for bringing my children. They'll come along with me to things, and that's just the way it is.
I love that. It sounds like you follow after your grandma. Your grandmother was an entrepreneur too, so I love that. So good. Yeah, and it's so important, right? I totally believe that too. Yeah, my daughter's again everything. She knows what's up. So, once again, where can people find you? Once again, you're the CEO of Freelance by Gabrielle. You're located in Oklahoma. Where can they find you online?
I'm on Facebook. You just type up Grants by Gabrielle. I'm like the first or second page that populates. Prevent. I'm on LinkedIn. You just type in Gabrielle Perry. I'm one of the first two there. I do have a website. The URL is extremely long. So if you just email me or text me, my phone number is on my LinkedIn. So you can find
We'll
it.
put on the show notes. Yeah, we'll put all the show notes there.
But yeah, I don't have to reach right there. It's just the URL is so long. I paid for the shortened domain name. I don't know what's happening. So
It's okay. It'll all get worked out, right? I know it's it can be all in the weeds with that thing. But yeah, people can still find you. Facebook, we'll have the link there. They can reach out to you, all of the good things. You said you've got your Calendly up and going the last couple of weeks, so they'll be able to book a call with you. And yeah, and working especially with government grants, federal grants, that's those sort of things. So yeah, if you guys are looking for that, Gabrielle is your girl. She's a place to go. Yeah. And thank you again for coming on, and thank you for joining the academy. I'm so happy you did, because I love watching your journey, and I love all of the things that have happened for you. And yeah, thank you for taking your future in your hands and being like, no, I want to change this.
well, thank you so much for having me. Again, it would not be possible without you. So thank you.
All right. I'll see you back inside the academy.
No problem. Bye.